recovered from a hip surgery. That was easy, but I do know that I hear that the knee is a little bit more difficult, but I have a friend that's thinking about doing it. I'd be interested in hearing about what you found out so I could share that with her.
Okay, we'll see.
Are you getting it done
Dr.
at
Bartlett,
Hope?
welcome.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure, as always.
Well, I'm sorry we don't have a dinner to offer you tonight.
That's okay. No worries. As long as we're all safe and healthy at this point.
Absolutely.
So Supervisor, I'm now the treasurer and Gail Wade is now the president. So she'll be
Okay.
running the meeting, but I'll be advancing the slides of the PowerPoint.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Gene is our Zoom master. So he's done quite a few of these, so I'm sure we won't have any difficulty. So, but feel free to yell at him if you need to.
Okay. Or even if I don't need to, I can still yell at them, right?
I've been married for 45 years, so I'm well trained to follow instructions.
Oh,
I'm laughing. I'm laughing.
Hi, Madeline, how you doing?
I am good. Thank you, Jean.
So you know the little three dots up on the upper right-hand corner, that is a symbol for menu. So you can go to menu and change your name from iPhone to Madeline.
Oh, but do I want to do that? I think I'm
Yes.
just going to stick with iPhone. Wait a minute. Now I probably, I
No,
just want to
that's
get
fine.
everybody on the screen.
You came in after I had revealed that I know 6% of the features of Zoom. So that's one of them. Those three little dots in the upper right-hand corner are menu. You can click it and you can find all kinds of fun things to do, including renaming yourself.
Okay. How do I get to see all the participants? It's not coming up in the,
Well, that must be above 6%. I don't know. I have it on a gallery. After a bit here, I'm going to change it to speaker view. But in other words, you can't see me?
I can see you, but I can't see everybody else.
Well,
On your top right corner, you don't see what looks like a grid, checker box grid. Click on that.
I'll turn this around. Okay, I think I had the phone upside down.
That shouldn't matter.
I don't know. I still
Marcia?
don't see it. I see it
If
on
you
my,
touch the side, sometimes it will pop up or the top,
Hi.
that grid.
not
the
yet.
upper right-hand corner, there's a grid, and I think it's just the two choices are speaker's view or gallery view. And it sounds like you want the gallery view.
Carolyn. Hi, Darylyn.
Hello.
Can you tell Madeline how to find where she changes to speaker view on the iPhone? Plus
Hold-
7%, Jean.
I know, I'm trying to do that too and get into, where I can see more people.
I can
Is
do
she
it
on-
on my iPhone, but it's not working on this one.
Is she on her phone?
Yeah, I'm on my iPhone.
Okay,
It would be, hi, everyone.
I
So
think you
it
go
would
to,
be in the top right of your screen, and it'll either be speaker view or gallery view. If you're on speaker view, it'll show gallery, and if it's gallery, it'll show speaker. So you want it to be in gallery. It's above the pictures.
yeah, I know, that's what I'm trying to do too. If
Mine
you
just,
scroll
what does
crossways,
REC mean?
in the
REC.
settings.
Record means
Oh.
record.
Don't regard.
If you scroll sideways, you will see different people. I don't think you can see the whole group on your iPhone.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, you
Just a
That
few
can't.
people
explains
at a
it.
time.
Okay. All right.
Well, remember our secret meeting before? We want to impress the supervisor, how
There we
sharp we are. So
Too late.
Too late.
It's okay. There's high tech
if
and
you,
low tech, and I'm no tech, so I can relate to all this. So
Right.
we already
So
have
is
somebody
the,
with their
Hi,
hand raised.
Supervisor Bartlett, is the Board of Supervisors meeting in person now?
Oh, it's always been in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we've been spread out on the dais.
Oh, I see.
Oh, nice.
Good.
That's great.
Is
Might
the
have been
public
easier though,
invited?
when we have 240 public speakers. I'd rather have it on Zoom.
Probably easier to mute people, speakers that way.
We've had some very interesting speakers as of late, so.
I'm sure.
Just to let you know, I'm calling in from Montana, where I'm visiting my sister, and I'm very interested in this meeting because I am adding an ADU to my property in Laguna Beach, my home.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm very anxious to hear what the supervisor has to say.
Well, we have somebody in Oregon, somebody in Montana, so we're
Good.
coming from all.
Hi, Harry.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi.
I've been riding the trails up here and I am so motivated. When I get home, we've got to put in better trails. I know we've got pretty good trails. I've been riding them, but it's
Yeah.
time we put one down Aliso Creek all the way to the ocean. And it's
Yep.
time we enhance the one that goes along Laguna Canyon. That's got to be developed so that people can appreciate it. That's how you fall in love with nature in that area. I can't wait to start something up.
Harry, are you on a regular bike or an e-bike?
Or a horse.
I'll confess, I'm on a pedal assist and that's an e-bike, but it's not bad because a pedal assist is the lower level. It's just enough to give an old man a little boost to get home. That's
oh,
what it's for.
ah,
The other models are a throttle, and those are the faster ones. But I deliberately don't want that.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to remind everybody about any questions you might have for Supervisor Bartlett, to put them in chat if you haven't already submitted them. And I'm sure questions will develop as we listen to what the supervisor has to tell us. And I know Supervisor Bartlett, your newsletter, which I get, I think weekly, is very informative. And if there's a
No, this is fine.
website for it, you can put that in chat for everybody also.
Okay. This is people who put their dog. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I can come and do that. So Gail, maybe Village Laguna would like to announce what they're doing for their 50th anniversary. I think that's coming up here somewhere. There's a couple of maybe Darylyn knows. What's the plan? You got to unmute yourself.
There, okay. Honestly, Jean, I'm not up to speed on it. Actually, it's on the 16th. Rosemary could probably give a better, update at Bluebird Park. I'm assuming you're supposed to bring your own lunch. They're going to be giving away 50 trees. Is that right, Rosemary?
That's right. You have to go on the website and
Right.
sign up for it, and they're giving coast.
Can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Turn up your speaker.
Huh. All right. Let's see.
I
I
can hear
can hear
her.
Rosemary just
I
fine.
can hear you, Rosemary.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
fine.
Okay, maybe it's me.
Now I'm in. All right. Yeah, it's they're giving away toyons and post live oaks. And you have to go on the website to fill out and say which one you want. And it's only to Laguna residents that they're giving them. And it's a picnic, and the South Laguna Band is going to be playing. It's a celebration for Village Laguna's 50th anniversary,
What was the date, Rosemary? I'm sorry,
the 16th.
of June?
May.
Oh,
From 1 to 3, but all the information is on the website. And when you get on the website, there's a banner across the top. All you have to do is click the link for the anniversary, and it'll take you to all the information and the sign up sheet.
thank you.
Okay, I think we'll give it another 5 minutes. I know some people were having trouble logging on, so then we'll start general announcements. Any others that we may have?
Well, the one thing I'd like to point out is that former Mayor Paul Freeman issued a statement about Mo Honaker and Mo Honaker's projects in Laguna Beach. They're apparently going to be before the California Coastal Commission. Former Mayor Freeman apparently was an advisor to Mo Honaker, and kind of summed it up that he was on the dream team, but Mr. Honaker would not listen to any advisor regarding anything. And that there's been a number of unpermitted things going on at the Hotel Laguna. So I would encourage everybody to read that statement from the former mayor. And if there's a way to participate in the California Coastal Commission meeting about it, to do so.
Where is that statement?
I received it from Norm Grossman, a prior speaker here at the LCC, the president of the Laguna Greenbelt. But he was just sharing the sharing it. It's just maybe a brand new hot information, but look for it because it's sizzling.
It's Freeman.
I'll see if I could post it on the website. I don't know if it's a good idea, but I'll ask if we can do that.
Which website?
Village Laguna.
Oh,
villagelaguna.org.
Gene Felder is always at all of them. What? Gene Felder.
Johanna, did you want to say something?
Yes, I have an announcement for Village Laguna.
If it's about the 50th year at Bluebird Park, we've already covered it.
Oh, sorry.
But why don't you go over it real quickly? What are the details?
Well, we're giving away 50 trees for our 50th anniversary. And you just have to go on the website and sign up and come down and bring your lunch and a blanket. And we're going to have music in the park and we're going to have a great celebration.
Johanna, which park is that?
Oh, Bluebird, sorry. It's
And what
was the date?
on May 16th.
At what time?
1 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah. And the garden band is gonna play. South Laguna Garden Band. It's gonna be a fun day.
That date again is May 15th,
16th. It's
16th.
the
Oh.
date that we would have had our Charm House tour had we not had COVID virus and, not be able to have the Charm House tour. But that would have been,
One last question, Johanna. Are you bringing the wine or am I supposed to?
there's no wine allowed, but we're gonna have cupcakes. And
Spiked.
trees. We're giving away toy-ons or oaks. So sign up and get a tree.
Live
Gail-
Oaks. Wow.
Gail, through the chat, I've got Ginger Wallace has an announcement to make. Ginger, unmute yourself and make your announcement.
Hi, tomorrow at 3 o'clock at Main Beach, Laguna Bluebell, along with the city of Laguna Beach and, the council and staff and 7 nonprofits are going to be having a ribbon cutting ceremony. And we're dedicating our second recycled,
What are you doing, Don? Oh,
refillable water bottle fountain.
Oh, good, good,
at
good,
Main
good.
Beach.
Great.
And as a result of the Blue Belt raised money to actually fund much of it. And the city kicked in a great deal. And so together we've started this process, and now the city is has pledged to dedicate 35 more of these recycled refillable bottle fountains in the city. So we're really excited about reducing plastic on our beaches and in the ocean. And please come tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Main Beach.
Thank you, Ginger. Are there any
Great.
other groups? Are there any other groups that have an announcement they'd like to make? Because if not, I'd like to make the Laguna Canyon Conservancy general announcements now. So, okay. Well, thank you to all of you that have recently renewed your membership. That was very much appreciated. And there's still time to continue to encourage your friends and colleagues that think highly of the canyon to join us. I wanted to also point out that we did ask if anyone was interested in joining the board of directors for the coming year. We would appreciate volunteers. It's a 1-year term. The pay is not very much. It's kind of like 0, but we try and do good things. I think we promote very good causes, and protecting the open space in the canyon, of course, is our mission. And so please feel free to send me an email if you'd like to join us.
good girl.
We would ask people to attend board meetings. And obviously, if there are topics of interest or concern that come up, we do gather information. We do write letters to public bodies. We do, on rare occasion, attend public meetings. So these are all things we could use some help with. So please think about doing that. So just a reminder, if you have questions for Supervisor Bartlett, put them in chat. If you haven't sent them already, we have a few that have been sent in advance. And I want to launch into introducing.
Gail, let me mute everybody and then I'll unmute you to introduce the supervisor. Oh, I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay. All right. So Jean, you continue to let people in as they try and log on, but I'm going to introduce Supervisor Bartlett now. For those of you that haven't had the pleasure of hearing her address us in times past, we are so honored and grateful you are here, Supervisor Bartlett. We know how busy you are, especially during these pandemic times. So So Lisa Bartlett, born and raised in Southern California. She has been a resident of South Orange County for over 30 years. Lisa began her career in public service when she was first elected to Dana Point City Council in 2006. During her term on the City Council, she served as both mayor and mayor pro tem for the city. Supervisor Bartlett was elected to the Orange County Board of Supervisors in 2014 and was re-elected in 2018 to represent the 5th District. She served as chairperson of the Board of Supervisors in 2016 and again in 2019.
Come to tell us.
I want some more in it, okay?
Well, you,
I'm gonna put-
just zero.
Okay, so in both,
You don't cook for me, I'm not gonna cook for you.
who are we not muting?
I've muted Electra.
Oh, okay. In both her public and private life, Supervisor Bartlett is known for supporting projects she believes will improve economic development, property values, and overall quality of life. She brings that prolific vision to the 5th District in Orange County at large and is a strong proponent of fiscal responsibility, accountability, and greater transparency in government. In addition to her role on the Orange County Board of Supervisors, Lisa represents her constituents on several regional and state boards and commissions. She is immediate past president of the California State Association of Counties and was recently appointed as at-large member to the National Associations of Counties. She also serves on the board of directors for the Orange County Transportation Authority, the Orange County Fire Authority, Transportation Corridor Agency, South Coast Air Quality Management District, and numerous other boards and commissions. In fact, I read that she serves on about 20 committees. How that's possible, I don't know. Lisa earned her bachelor's degree in finance, a master's degree in business administration, and became a certified project management professional, as well as a licensed real estate broker. So Supervisor Bartlett, we are humbled and grateful to have you, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to tell us.
Well, thank you so much for that gracious introduction, Gail. And I'm also humbled and gratitude afar from my place here in Dana Point. I just really appreciate you all taking the time to let me speak to you this evening. So we're going to go over a couple of topics that I think Jean had sent over, somebody had sent over that you really wanted to cover tonight. So we've got the OC Parks management of the wilderness parks. We've got the fire hazard of e-bikes in our wilderness parks, genetic health of wildlife and need for the effective animal corridor to the Cleveland National Forest, Caltrans projects in Laguna Beach or the surrounding area, and the federal possibility of federal funding to underground utility poles along Laguna Canyon Road. So if we'll turn to the very first slide, please. We can talk about the OC Parks management of our wilderness parks. So for the first time in years, OC Parks, oops, hold on just a second here. I just lost my notes here. Okay.
Gail, can you see the slide?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, it's great. Orange, it says OC Parks Management.
Okay. Oh, my screen just got kind of jumbled for a second. Sorry about that. So for the first time in years, OC Parks is fully staffed with 50 park rangers, and the park team tracks attendance and activities. It deploys additional staff where most needed. Park attendance is up as individuals venture into our parks. So part of what's happening with COVID-19, people want to get out and they want to be outdoors, of course. So they've now gone onto our trails and our parks, and the attendance on both of those is up dramatically. So OC Parks is bringing back the Ranger Reserve and the Sheriff Reserve program. Sheriff Reserves will be starting back the weekend of April 24th. So they're already, they already started back in place. And they will supplement the Ranger patrols, and they're going to focus on a couple of the troublesome areas. So the West Ridge and Top of the World areas. The park rangers patrol the West Ridge and Top of the World at least 4 times a day, and also on the weekends. You might not always see them, but I can tell you they're certainly out there. And our Ranger Reserve program will be starting very soon. We had a great conversation, probably an hour and a half, 2-hour conversation a couple of weeks ago with my staff and Bob Whalen and Shoray Dupree, your new city manager, and also our OC Parks team, relative to a couple of places, relative to the beach, the trails, and so on. And we're putting in, I think, what will be a really good program in place to kind of supplement what we need there. So next slide regarding the fire hazard of e-bikes in wilderness parks. So OC Parks is not aware of any actual incidents with e-bikes that are causing fire hazards, but there's been an increase in popularity and use of e-bikes. And Harry's right, the pedal assist bikes are one thing, but the propensity of the younger folks in particular, no offense to Harry, but particularly the younger folks are going to the e-bikes and they can get up to 20 miles per hour. So when you take a look at the proliferation of e-bikes, currently all motorized vehicles are prohibited in our regional and wilderness parks, including the associated unpaved hiking and biking trails. There's one exception though, where certain types of e-bikes are actually permitted. So the Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are permitted on certain regional paved bikeways, such as the Aliso Creek Bikeway, Salt Creek Trail Bikeway, and the San Juan Creek Bikeway. But these e-bikes are not in the same category as motorbikes. The e-bikes are supposed to turn off when they hit 20 miles per hour. So the e-bike users, they're supposed to adhere to all the applicable rules, including the 10 mile per hour speed limit. I know a number of cities are actually posting speed limits now for e-bikes in certain areas of various cities. Huntington Beach, I think, has a 5 mile per hour e-bike mile per hour limit in certain areas of the city. We continue to hear from both advocates for expanding e-bike access, but also those that are opposed to any expansion and want to seek further restrictions. So it's on a city by city basis. And then relative to the unincorporated areas, that's where the county comes into play with our OC Parks staff. So there's no easy answer in terms of best public policy. Our OC Parks team, the OC Parks Commission, and the Trails Subcommittee continue to review the trail management practices and the procedures. And this is sort of an evolving area because for the longest period of time, we've only had on the trails the pedestrians and then the regular pedal bikes. So now with technology coming into play, things are changing very rapidly, and we've got to figure out how we can keep everybody safe, but accommodate everyone that wants to be out there on the various trails and in our wilderness parks. So I really look forward to the continued review and guidance as we move forward, but always want to hear from the public. So if you ever have comments relative to what you see on parks and trails and wilderness areas, let us know, because at the county, hopefully we'll get a policy developed that will be in place for all of our county parks and trails and those areas. So next slide, on a separate subject, the update on the implementation of our OC Parks Trail Designations pilot project. So the launch date is going to be June 1st of 2021, and it'll cover 3 wilderness parks, including the Laguna Coast and Aliso Woods Canyon parks. The new designations will be modifying the use or direction of travel for different classifications of users. Again, we're trying to enhance public safety so everyone can utilize what we have in a safe manner. OC Parks partnered with the Natural Communities Coalition, and this coalition sponsored a study that will evaluate the pilot project. So I look forward to coming back at a future date to give you the results relative to the evaluation of the pilot project. The anticipated study will identify areas to address user conflicts, habitat impacts, overuse of certain trails, and related trail degradation. We'll also gather and analyze data to help shape future operational policies. Next slide, please. So looking towards the genetic health of wildlife and the need for animal corridors relative to the Cleveland National Forest, We're very fortunate right now that we've got 22,000 acres of contiguous protected coastal natural habitat. But that being said, we always want to do better. So this area includes the Aliso and Wood Canyons and the Laguna Coast Wilderness Parks. Currently, there's no continuous path to the Cleveland National Forest for native animals in this area. And this particular corridor spans about 6 miles of the coastal habitat and the Cleveland National Forest. We've made great progress on the Irvine Laguna Wildlife Corridor, which, as you know, runs from Laguna Beach all the way up to the 241 toll road. It goes right through kind of the Irvine Spectrum area. And the nature corridors for the animals are so important because they protect wildlife, plants, and they enhance the genetic diversity. The animals are allowed to basically go anywhere within the corridor. They don't have to cross freeways. They don't have to go through areas where they would be put in danger. So it's really important to have as many of these wildlife corridors in place as possible for that connectivity for the animals. The Laguna Coast Wilderness is isolated from other wildlands, which can lead to genetic degradation. When they're not able to cross from corridor to corridor, you get species that interbreed, and that causes some real significant problems on a long-term basis. So to protect the health of Orange County wildlife and plants, the coast and foothill wildlands, we have to have that great connectivity. And it's critical for all of us here tonight to support those efforts to complete the wildlife corridors. I want to really thank the Laguna Greenbelt folks who have been champions of this project for as long as I can remember. It takes a team of us working together, and I appreciate everybody being really vocal. Each tree, shrub, cactus, or any other native flora within the corridor brings our communities one step closer to achieving our conservation goals. Next slide, please. Looking at the 241 Toll Road Wildlife Protection Fence. So as you know, we've got these wildlife fences along the 241 corridor. And the objective is to reduce the wildlife and vehicle collisions on the toll road through the construction of these wildlife exclusionary fences. It also reduces the habitat loss and fragmentation. The wildlife fences are kind of a copper color, so they blend into the community at large, and they are specifically designed to exclude animals from getting onto the roadway. We funnel the animals to bridge and culvert through the undercrossings with those structures that we have in place for a safe passage. And it minimizes the attraction of wildlife to areas that are right next to the roadways. They do have these jump ramps periodically. So if an animal accidentally gets out into the roadway, it can continue along the fence line and then jump back into the area where away from the roadway, and they can get back to into Mother Nature again, where they're supposed to be. So we kind of look at all the different options out there and try to keep them as safe as possible. So the completed fence also enhances the wildlife connectivity within the corridor. And we ensure the range of protected species that they'll continue to strive and work to be at sustainable levels, because it's every animal that we lose is really a significant loss for all of us. But by having that significant wildlife fencing in place with the jump ramps coming back in, it has really reduced the animal loss in that corridor. So next slide, please. Looking at the various Caltrans projects, there is a portion that's a 100-year-old box culvert under Coast Highway, and that's going to be replaced. That current bridge was actually constructed before 1928, so it's really, really old. And there's roughly about a 70% sectional loss due to corrosion. The structure is in the advanced stages of deterioration, and it definitely needs to be replaced. The businesses that are adjacent to the project will continue to be open during construction, and the project is scheduled to be completed before Memorial Day weekend. So we're really pushing to make sure before the full summer season opens up in Laguna Beach that we get this project finished. The next project is the Laguna Canyon Road project at El Toro, and that's a safety project by Caltrans. The project was awarded to Granite Construction, and The construction was delayed to September 2021 due to some permitting issues, but we're working through that process. Southern California Edison will underground the utilities between the SR 73 and El Toro Road. But the utilities will not be undergrounded south of El Toro. This particular safety project will be completed in 2025. The timeline for removal of the concrete barriers that are on Laguna Canyon Road, if you take a look at that median area, the Caltrans led project to replace the metal guardrail system on Laguna Canyon Road. This is between the SR 73 and the I-405. The K-rail is currently placed about 3 feet to 4 feet from the travel lanes, and that particular project is expected to be completed in July of this year. Relating to the undergrounding of utility poles along Laguna Canyon Road, so the question came in to us, is there any federal funding opportunities for this? I know it's a really important issue to the community, not just from a beautification perspective, but from a public safety perspective. I remember one year I was driving out to Laguna Beach, and it was the day before 4th of July, July 3rd. And one of the utility poles, a car hit it, and then it sparked a fire with some of the trees. And that whole area had to be shut down for a period of time. So you can see how sensitive that area is. We get a lot of traffic through there. People that are driving sometimes aren't paying attention. They hit the utility poles. The next thing we know, we get a fire that can be spread very quickly. So in looking at federal infrastructure funding, it's really focused on things like roads and highways, bridges, water, sewer, and broadband. There is no particular funding mechanism specifically for any federal funding for undergrounding the utility poles, but we'll continue to look for any available opportunities. I know the city of Laguna Beach has always been really proactive in purchasing what we call the Rule 20A credits. So every time you pay your utility bill, there's a portion of it that goes into this Rule 20A fund. And cities can actually purchase those credits from other cities. So Laguna Beach has done a fantastic job over the years about purchasing those extra Rule 28 credits from other cities at literally 50 cents on the dollar. But now they've purchased in the utility zone area, all of the available credits have been purchased. So they're stockpiling them, but we need to get more credits basically in order to underground all the utility poles in an area like Laguna Canyon Road. So a couple of different things can happen relative to funding and trying to get those poles undergrounded. The city has reached out to my office. We've done some research. A couple of things. There are different utility entities throughout the state of California. And collectively with the Rule 28 credits right now throughout the state, there's over $2 billion of unused credits. But there's no mechanism for cities in one utility jurisdiction to purchase Rule 28 credits from another city that's in a different utility jurisdiction. So we have to figure out how we can change that, because there's literally billions of dollars of credits that are totally going unused, because in a lot of areas of the state, they either don't want to, or they don't need to underground their utility poles. And yet the ratepayers are paying all this money and the credits are just sitting there with the utilities. We've been really proactive in Southern California, particularly along the coastal areas, of utilizing those Rule 28 credits to the greatest extent possible to underground those utility poles. One thing you can do relative to federal funding, there are the earmarks of the past that were gone have actually come back, but they're not called earmarks anymore because it's not politically correct. So now they're called member project funding requests. So what you can do is contact your congressperson for Laguna Beach, and that would be Congresswoman Michelle Steele, and let her know you'd like her to put in a project member project funding request. I think this particular cycle just closed, but it takes a long time to get these in place, and maybe for the next year, put in a request so that money can be set aside potentially for the undergrounding of utility poles in Laguna Beach. So that would go through your congressperson to make that specific request. And I'll do everything I can to work at the state level with our legislators to see what we can do. I'm working with the Public Utilities Commission through CSAC as well. I was the prior president of CSAC, and this is something that a lot of counties have been asking for. Why can't we buy credits from other areas to underground our utility poles? So the Public Utilities Commission is a really important entity here that governs all the utilities throughout the state of California. So if we can get legislation passed or get the PUC to make some exceptions, then we will have a situation where cities like Laguna Beach would then be able to buy those unused utility credits for undergrounding from other cities and other utility jurisdictions. So we're working on a couple of different things to try to free up those credits for purchase. And I'll continue to keep you posted on our progress there. So at this point, I would love to stop and then turn it back over to you for some questions. I think there might be a couple of questions from the participants today.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Supervisor Bartlett. You covered a lot of some of the items on our question list, but there's a few more left. And what I'll do is maybe jump into a newer topic for the time being that you didn't touch on at this point. And that was regarding we thank you for your support and the county support for the Laguna Ocean and Bluebelt restoration of the Aliso Creek estuary. The project, as you know, is very critical to that part of South Laguna where we have the sand berm. And where you're wondering, can you suggest how to improve enforcement at Aliso Beach to prevent the unauthorized breaching of the sand berm, releasing millions of gallons of urban runoff during each violation and jeopardizing public safety? In summer, it can happen several times a week. We're hoping, of course, that the OC Rangers will step up enforcement and write citations with the help of a camera focused on the mouth of the creek. So that's a different topic than we touched on, but it is important to a number of us.
Well, it's important to me as well. When the Aliso Creek berm gets broken, and it's unfortunately for a lot of the kids that are in that area, they breach that berm and they don't understand the consequences of it. They think it's great to have the water flowing in and around them, and they go swimming, and they don't even know what potential damage there could be to the area. And so it's hard to put a sheriff's deputy out there or to have Laguna Beach PD out there all the time. But I think with the ranger program and some of the changes we're making, hopefully we can get some better monitoring of the area. I know that we did post some signs, and that helped at least for a while by having signs posted. But I think having that actual presence of a person there that's monitoring on a more regular basis, especially in the summer months where we tend to have more kids from in and out of the area and that area of the berm, we have to figure out how to protect it, because having it breached several times a week is just, it's not a good thing. It's there for a reason. And the kids, unfortunately for the kids, they look at it as an attractive nuisance because they think, oh, berm and it's sand and they can break it and the water can come through, and it's causing some serious issues. So I do really appreciate you staying on top of it. We're continuing to work with the city, and hopefully we'll get more rangers on a routine basis down to that area, because if we have greater presence there and the kids know it, then I think that's going to deter them from coming back time and time again, especially if they go away with a citation. So it's a matter of being vigilant, and we've got limited resources because we need to be on the trails and we need to be in the parks and in the wilderness and at the Aliso Creek berm and everywhere else around the area. But I do appreciate everybody speaking up about this because it's an important area, and from a nature perspective, but making sure that we do the right thing for the environment. So the city is well aware of it and the county's well aware of it, and we're hopefully putting together a better program to make sure we have a more vigilant presence out there.
Well, and what about the idea of cameras? I know everyone thinks cameras are the answers to all problems.
Cameras are great, but you've got to have somebody at the other end looking at it all the time. And the cameras that we have out there are actually just for snapshots of what's happening in nature, just to make sure that from the perspective of the environment, not from the berm perspective per se, but just from the environmental high level perspective, that nothing is going awry in that area. But as far as the monitoring, the cameras are great if you've got somebody who's monitoring the cameras all the time, because somebody's got to pull the red flag if there's, say, a breach of the berm. So then again, you've got to have somebody full-time looking at the camera to make sure that nothing is happening there. So I think having more of a physical presence right there would be a greater deterrent. So that's what we're going to at least try first, to make sure that, you know, we make that extra effort.
Is the county actively hiring new rangers to, you know, bolster the numbers?
We are fully staffed right now in our ranger program, but we will add new rangers as necessary. I know that we're trying to cover a lot of ground, because when you take a look at all of the parks and trails and the system throughout the county in the unincorporated areas that the county is responsible for, and that's why we're fully staffed with rangers, because through COVID, we found that more people are getting outdoors and they really want to enjoy the parks and the trails and getting out in the wilderness. And while that's all great for the public to be out there, we're getting people that are tagging Mother Nature. And that's not a good thing. So we again have to be more vigilant at the trailheads and other areas. There are literally people at some of the trailheads, and they come from out of the area, they park their cars, and then they're on the trail, they come back, they're changing clothes in the middle of the street at the trailheads, and urinating in the bushes and things like that. So we have a lot to tackle throughout our whole system, but we are fully staffed with rangers, and we're going to get out there as much as we can, especially to the problem areas, because there are certain areas that we have repeat issues, whether it's at the trailheads or with the taggers that are putting graffiti on things. Aliso Creek berm and other areas as well. So for the most part, things are working pretty well through our system, but we've always got these problem areas that have to get addressed. And by having a more continued presence and focus, I think we'll have some greater impact.
Well, there are some follow-up questions regarding revisiting earlier design plans for the Aliso Creek Trail reaching the ocean. You know, if you can reiterate the Orange County Parks pilot project that's restructuring trail direction dates again. I mean, these are all tied together probably, if you want to just cover a little of those points.
Sure. So we always want to have the best enhancement as we can throughout our county trail and park system. And the connectivity, as Harry was saying earlier, that connectivity of all of our trails and parks, whether they're county parks and trails, or as we go through cities, having that connectivity between county and city parks and trails from the inland areas all the way to the coast is really important. And we don't have that connectivity right now. So OC Parks is looking, and they're working with Public Works to see what we can do, get grants, for instance, to make sure that wherever we can make those enhancements for the connectivity, we're going to try to do so. OC Parks is also looking at, with the greater use of the trail system and park system right now, looking at making some of the trails and other areas directional, so that certain areas would be one direction, other areas would be the opposite direction, to make sure that we can get the public moving around safely. And then they're even looking at some areas for the bikes and the e-bikes, to see if you can put pedestrians in one area and people that are on bikes and the motorized types of units on something different. Because many times when you've got pedestrians, especially on some of the tight corners, and you get, you know, an e-bike zipping around or someone on a bicycle, it creates a dangerous condition. So OC Parks is looking at the entire trail system to see what we can do to enhance public safety and keep everybody moving through the area in a good fashion, so we get a lot of throughput, because people don't want to be on a trail walking half a mile an hour for 2 hours. They want to be, well, if they're taking a good hike, they want to be able to get out there and exercise But if we've got too many people on the trail in both directions, or we've got too many other bikes or pedal assist bikes or e-bikes out there, it causes congestion. And when you have congestion, just like you do on the freeway, you get gridlock. And nobody wants to be out there in, the great areas of wilderness and trails and be moving along at a snail's pace.
Great, well, thank you. How about a little different topic, one that's closer to your home, the harbor, Dana Point Harbor. What is the latest on their renovation project? How's it going? When's it going to end? Any details you might have to share?
Okay, the project's a 5 to 7 year project, start to finish, about $350 to $400 million. The Dana Point Harbor Partners, it's made up of 3 teams. Joe Uberoff from Bellwether Financial is redoing all of our waterside improvements. So all new docks and waterside amenities. And all of the waterside amenities just received about 2 months ago Coastal Commission approval. So they've got the green light now to move forward. Really excited about that. The harbor was built out in the 70s and it's really old. So we really do need some major renovations there. And then the commercial core is Burnham Ward. And they'll be moving forward on all of the commercial core buildings. The first structure to go up, I believe, is going to be a multi-tiered parking structure. We're always short on parking throughout the county, but certainly along the coastal areas, and the harbor is no different. So a multi-tiered parking structure will go up, and then new commercial core buildings, restaurants, et cetera. And then the hotels. So we have a boutique hotel, which will be on the water, and then an affordable hotel, which will be adjacent to that. So 2 hotels on that footprint. And RD Olson, so Bob Olson's company, is designing and building out the hotels for the site. So things are going to be moving forward. I think everything got a little bit delayed because of COVID, when those projects, a lot of projects we had at the county just came to pretty much a screeching halt. And it was really unfortunate because we had such great momentum up until a year ago when we got hit with the COVID pandemic. So now things are starting back up slowly but surely, and you're going to see a lot of the work there really accelerate, like the parking structure, the different improvements in different areas of the harbor. So just stay tuned. Some major changes coming up. Probably between now and the first of the year, you'll start to see some significant activity take place.
Great, thank you. So, well, what is your view on the importance of local control and the ability of the county and cities to make decisions that impact their communities? Is the state taking too much power and making too many mandates? That's a political question. for you.
And the answer is yes. The state is always overstepping its bounds. And I always have been the biggest advocate for local control. All of us, we have 58 counties in the state. The state in general, I know they mean well, but they can't and shouldn't get involved to the extent that they do at the local level. Because at the local level, cities and counties, we know what's best for our residents, what our residents want. And we want that local control because we make the best decisions when it's done on a localized basis. We never want to be governed directly on a lot of things by Sacramento, and we certainly don't want to be legislated by Sacramento. So it's really important that we get people up there that listen to us and leave it to our local jurisdictions to make those local decisions. I think you get the best governance when things are done locally.
That is probably true. So, and one question that came in was regarding the complex in Anaheim that was being designed to house the homeless. How is that progressing, and how is that going to help our county's needs for, providing shelter for our underprivileged?
Okay, so which complex are they referring to? Do they have a location?
So it's supposed to be a new one in Anaheim. I think there was another one finished though in Anaheim. Is there a newer one coming in? This was from one of our board members. So
okay, I think there is a new shelter that may be being constructed in Anaheim. I don't know the details because it's not in my district, but I think there is a new shelter that may be under construction. So getting back to the homelessness issue, we had basically 6,000 homeless in the last point in time count. which was now 2 years ago. We've done a really great job. And through the COVID crisis, one thing that was a positive that came out of it, we really had to get the homeless off the streets. And when the COVID pandemic hit. And so the state, one of the things the state did that was really good was they set up something called Project Room Key. And so every jurisdiction had to put together a program for housing the homeless in hotels and motels for Project Room Key. And we had at least one location in every single district. So for our district, it was in Laguna Hills. And we were able to take the street homeless and put them in through the hotel or motel through Project Room Key and start to get them assessed with wraparound services. And so for all of the homeless that went into the Project Room Key in Laguna Hills, 100% of those individuals, when they left, were connected with other shelters, permanent supportive housing, and other types of wraparound services. So from that project, it was really a good thing to get the homeless off the street and transition them to a stage in their life where they can start to make their lives better and not be homeless on the streets. So, but we need to do more in the way of permanent supportive housing. The county put $5 million into a housing trust, and we've now got 11 or 1,200 units of permanent supportive housing that is being built out right now throughout the county. Another project through the state of California through the COVID pandemic was something called Project Home Key. And those are basically, it's a program where you get funded. We applied for $125 million of funding, and I think we received about $28 million. But that allowed us to purchase 2 motels. They were both in Stanton, and we're converting those motels to permanent supportive housing through that program. So again, getting more permanent supportive housing units online quicker. And the state was very helpful in that regard. So we're doing everything we can to build out more permanent supportive housing throughout the county and to really do some great outreach to get the homeless off the street into the system of care and give these folks, you know, a second chance at life. So we're doing everything we possibly can. Another thing through the COVID pandemic is we found that there is a significant level of food insecurity throughout our county in all districts. I've had now 5 drive-through food drives in my district, and each time we have one, we get about 1,200 cars through, and people are coming to pick up boxes. We give them 4 boxes of fruits and vegetables and meal kits and milk and cheese and pastas and bread, and they're very grateful for it. So we know there's still a high level of food insecurity. Part of it is from the COVID pandemic where businesses were closed and people lost their jobs. Part of it was just the homeless population. So it's a combination of things and just people that fell on very difficult times, because if their spouse lost their job, they might be able to stay in their apartment, but then they're deciding, do I purchase food this month or do I pay the utilities or do I put gas in the car? So we don't want people to make those tough choices. So we did a lot of outreach through our nonprofits, and we've been able to supply and continue to do so tons of food to our residents at large. And we're going to be putting out another senior a nutrition gap program. We targeted towards our seniors that didn't want to get out during times of COVID. We had meals delivered to their homes. They really loved it. And we also had meal kits and other things, boxes of fruits and vegetables. And during that program, the seniors in particular decided they want to be able to take something, put it in the refrigerator or freezer, and then just pop it in the microwave. So none of this assembly, they said, you know, they just want something that's ready to go. So we learned a lot through that program, but we want to make sure that our vulnerable seniors make sure that they get all the food that they need as well, delivered right to their doorstep. So we're creating another program that'll be a year-long program. It'll be for seniors and for veterans and their families. And thinking there's another category, and I'm blanking out right now, but 3 different categories will be covered through that program. So we've got a lot of things going on. The county is getting a significant amount of money from the American Rescue Plan from the federal level, and we're putting all of that money to good use and pushing it out to our residents to make sure that If they need rental assistance, we can help them with that. If they have food insecurity, we can cover that. Healthcare, we have a huge rise in mental and behavioral health right now, the needs of the county. Part of it is because of COVID. Part of it is due to homelessness. And another part is just due to people getting stressed, or their kids are getting stressed by being cooped up for a year inside their house. So people are now outreaching saying, gosh, I need help with mental and behavioral health for my family. What do I do? We just opened up our first Be Well OC campus, and we hope to open up 2 more campuses. This is a 96-bed facility in Orange, California, and it's open to every county resident. And it doesn't matter whether you're homeless or you've got the best PPO insurance. If you've got mental or behavioral health issues and you're between the age of 17 on up, you're eligible to come into this facility. And it's everything from crisis stabilization through addiction treatment, substance abuse treatment, all the mental health services, behavioral health services, crisis residential if you need to stay there for 60 or 90 days. So this is a really tremendous facility. It's the first of its kind in our county. And we're really excited to have this, because the emergency rooms are not where people should go if they're having a mental or behavioral health crisis. Come to this facility and, we're able to help everybody. If the person is under the age of 17, we have our children's hospital in Orange that has 18 beds for the pediatric mental health unit. And it's a great facility. The family can stay with the child the entire time. So we're covering the full range of spectrum now, right in our own county for mental and behavioral health. And I'll keep you posted. We're looking at establishing another location, an even bigger location for our second campus. And we're hoping that that's around the Irvine area. So it'll be great proximity to the residents for South County.
Well, this is great, Lisa. I mean, there's so many groups in Orange County and in each city. For example, Laguna Beach had the Waymakers. It used to be called the CSP Youth Shelter. It was the only shelter that took, teenagers and stuff to help them. So as far as collaborating with each city, I mean, the county has all its programs and it sounds like they're doing really well. You're doing some great things. So does the city have to reach out to the county directly, or does the county automatically spread out to the cities to say, look what we have available, come, because we have our food, we have a Laguna food pantry, we have, our own groups here, but how does the county and the cities, how do they get together to make it even broader outreach?
The best thing to do is for the nonprofits or the city to outreach to the county, contact me or contact someone in my board office. We have a lot of grant programs, so we routinely fund through our grant programs. We just, I think we just allocated a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Friendship Shelter for their programs. And these are dollars that continually go out every year. So once you get into the grant cycle and you're approved that first year, you can then get grants for each successive year. So we fund a lot of your nonprofits that are in Laguna Beach and around the region on a continual basis. But anytime you've got a specific need, we have different grant programs that have been coming up through the COVID funding, the stimulus packages and so on. And we also get programs from the state as well. So don't ever hesitate to outreach to us, because somehow, some way we'll figure out how to get some things funded. And for instance, right now, I just talked to the president of Cal State Fullerton the other day, and they realized that with their 34,000 students, there's a high level of food insecurity. So I'm helping them with their food pantry. I talked to one of the executives at Kroger the other day and asked them if Kroger could help us. I said, it's a brand new food pantry. We've got thousands of students that are going to be utilizing it. And we need to get it stocked with food and other things for the students. And the executive at Kroger said, we're all in. Let us know what we need to do. So I'll be working with Kroger and Second Harvest Food Bank and Waste Not OC to get their food pantry fully stocked and up and operational, and also continued operations. So things like that. We have the means to connect the dots. We just need to know where the points of pain are, what you need in a specific area. And chances are, we can do outreach to the private sector, to other government offices, to the state or federal level. Somehow we will always find a way to try to generate funding for something or to connect those dots for services. So just let us know what your needs are, and we'll do everything we possibly can to assist you.
Well, as a last question, I've gone through the ones in chat, but let's talk about COVID vaccinations, Orange County. How are we doing? Are we, coming out ahead of the crowds and getting ourselves back in shape? What is your take on how the county is doing with vaccinations and getting through this, terrible time?
I think we are doing extremely well as a county. I'm really proud of all of our residents. My district has the highest number of vaccinations. So, and our senior population here in South County, over 80 or 85% of the seniors in my district are fully vaccinated. So we've done a great job on outreach, and people have really stepped up and done what they need to do to make sure that they safeguard themselves and their families. In order to get to what they call that herd immunity that you've probably heard about, no pun intended, we have to get to 70% of our population. So Orange County has 3.2 million people. 70% is 2.24 million people. We currently have about 1.5 million people that are fully vaccinated or have had at least one shot. So if you consider that group and you subtract it from the 2.24 million, we have about 740,000 more residents that we need to vaccinate to get up to that 70% of herd immunity. So we keep our super pods open. We're sending out mobile pods right into communities that may not have transportation, or they may have some language barriers. So we're really doing everything we can to outreach to get into different areas of the county where they may not be able to get to one of our super pods. So we're sending out our mobile pods directly to those areas. We sent out a mobile pod a couple of months ago to Glenwood. So the 50 residents there at Glenwood, it was going to be very difficult to try to transport them to a super pod site. So what we did was we put together a program for a mobile pod. We had the mobile pod actually go right out to Glenwood and vaccinated all of the Glenwood residents and the staff in one day, and then came back 30 days later to vaccinate them for the second shot. So we're doing those kinds of things to really make sure that every person who wants to get a vaccination will be able to do so, whether they go to a super pod site or whether we get a mobile pod directly out to them. So if you know of any individual or community at this point, everyone age 16 years and older is eligible for a vaccination. So if you know of anyone who's having trouble, doesn't have transport to get to one of our pod sites, we're setting up mobile pod sites in the various cities. So let us know if you know of any individuals or population within Laguna Beach that might not, for whatever reason, might not have gotten vaccinated or is having trouble getting transportation to and from one of our vaccination sites. We will work something out to make sure that we assist you in those efforts. I was out at Soka University in Aliso Viejo the other day for their 20th anniversary celebration. And they were indicating that 40% of their student population is international, and they're coming back from places like India and other countries in the EU where they don't even have an opportunity to get vaccinated. So I said, well, can they at least get a COVID test, get on a plane, and we will set up, they want them back in school in September, but they've got to get vaccinated. So I said, if you can get them back here, keep them sequestered, and in August, we'll set up a mobile pod at Soka, and we'll have them all come through in one day, hopefully with the Johnson & Johnson 1-dose shot, and get them all vaccinated. Because they want to go back to school, they've got to get vaccinated. The Cal State University system and the UC system in California, they're all requiring proof of vaccination before the kids can come back to school. So we have to somehow, some way, give everyone an opportunity, even if they're coming from India or Greece or wherever, if they can't get vaccinated in home country, we want to make sure that when they come back here, we keep them quarantined until they can get vaccinated, but that we'll step up and we'll vaccinate them. So the president was very grateful that we're going to put that program together.
That's fantastic. I mean, I don't think they'll let the India students back in the country for a while. But
Yes, that may be a difficult thing. Yes, I know with the outbreaks there, it's really, really sad.
yeah, no, that's fantastic. I know in Laguna, the Susie Q senior group is working on perhaps having a day of vaccination for, people around this area, seniors that cannot get to SOCA or don't have the computer ability to make an appointment is a problem. Well, that's
Okay.
fantastic. Is there anything you would just, I know we're with a lot of good points taken away. I think we'll be sending a letter to Congresswoman Steele about funding requests for the undergrounding. We'll work on that. And if if you want to tell us, how to, stay in touch, follow your newsletter, reach your office. If you want to put it in chat, we'd appreciate it. But
Okay, I'll put it in chat, but it's basically Soup Bartlett, so SUPBARTLETT.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter, and I'll put that in the chat right now. Somehow my chat feature's not working. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Well, so let me just thank you on behalf of everybody at LCC. We so appreciate your coming to update us every year. This has been particularly helpful in a lot of change going on right now. And we look forward to continually, reaching out when we need to your office and working together on so many good things you're doing. So thank you very much, Supervisor Bartlett, for being here this evening.
you're so very welcome, and just continue to keep in touch and continue to do the great work that you're doing. I so greatly appreciate, everything that the folks in Laguna Beach does, because it's such an engaged community, whether it's just on an individual basis or through one of your nonprofits or through the city. The residents always step up to the plate and they want to make the community better. They want to stay engaged. They're very vocal, which I do appreciate because I never have to say, what's on your mind, Laguna Beach? They're always so gracious about stepping up, saying, can you help us? Can you assist us with something? Or let's work together on something. And I just always appreciate that. There are some cities that I rarely hear from. And, I actually have to call them to find out what's going on, if anything. But Laguna Beach is always so engaged. So I just appreciate all the great work you're doing. Stay engaged, communicate. Let's continue to collaborate and get a lot of good things done.
Thank you very much.
Everybody can unmute themselves and
clap.
applaud, Supervisor Lisa Bartlett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Stay in touch and stay healthy and safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Good night.
You too.
Okay.
Hurry, hurry, hurry.
Thanks, Gail.
Bye.
Gail? Is Gail still here?
Where'd she go?
That was a great program. I believe Lisa is always a star. She answers questions just like that, one after another. Thank you for putting this together.
Well, I don't know where Gail is. Thank you, Harry, for your comment. Let's see, maybe I muted Gail.
I want to say thank you to all of you for bringing up and talking about the Aliso berm. My gosh, it's wonderful. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ginger, I wanted to say something, but she moved so quickly. There's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation from the kids that it really doesn't matter if the berm is broken. And so how does that message, get transferred that yes, it does matter and why it matters?
We have an Instagram account. We've got a slogan, a hashtag, don't dig Aliso, and we talk about all of the urban runoff and the pollution that is caused by it. And it's not just that, it's also the current, the flow from the creek when it's breached is so swift that families and children that try to walk through that can get swept out into the ocean. And then, of course, lifeguards have to rescue people, and they don't really want to get in that dirty water.
Because I've heard the other side of that, and people say, look, it naturally breaks, it could be several times a year.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, of course, during storms, during big winter storms, with all of the flow from the watershed that comes down through the creek, it would break, it typically, would breach it. But not 3 times a week during the summer or every day during the summer. And during 2018, the berm was allowed to build up and it got so large, it was not breached all summer long.
wow.
And also what's important to recognize is that ponding urban runoff behind the berm there, that the berm keeps from going into the ocean, it actually filters very, very slowly
Right.
urban runoff. But when the kids dig it out, there's no filtration at all. And it just floods the surf zone, and anybody that's swimming in it, it's much more concentrated as a result.
Right.
So we're trying our best to reach out to some of the skimboarders and talk to them, but it's hard because they're so dug in to this experience. It's almost addictive. That you're an addiction. Because of the high of riding that wave for 3 minutes, right? Or even worse yet, some of the skimboarders actually have tens of thousands of followers, and their whole career is based on that I skim the Aliso sandbar. And so, there's money being made. And so that's the other part of it that we're working on, is to convince these quote leaders in the skimboarding community that they need to lead some other way. They need to be like Patagonia. They need to care about the environment and the ocean.
Yeah, thanks for answering that.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
And no berm there.
Yeah, I should add that without the berm, you can't have the estuary, because the estuary needs, not to have the water sucked out of it. Because when it's sucked out, it takes out all the plant life and the fish and the larvae into the ocean, and they die. So I'll stop.
I kind of assumed that the COVID interrupted the work of the Laguna Ocean Foundation, or are they doing anything on that restoration of the estuary project?
Yeah, tomorrow night at the city council, item 15, they are, Ed Amanza and as an agenda item for it. And it's to ask or approve Bob Whalen to work with the Laguna Ocean Foundation and all the other supporters of this estuary to see what we can do as a city to make it happen. Because when I heard Harry talking about the trail, of course, I mean, what a trail it would be if it's connected to the estuary, and you're going to be going next to the estuary as you come down to the ocean. So beautiful. So there did seem to be a lull, but I think that they're now working with the city and moving it forward.
Thank you. Hey, goodbye. The meeting's over. I'm going to end the meeting. Everybody say goodbye.
All right. Thanks, Jean.
Thanks, Jean. Thank you, guys.
Bye, Harry. Bye, Ginger.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.